Go ahead.
All right, so we're live now.
Are we live? Okay. Oh, we
Yeah.
were live the whole time.
No, we're live.
Oh,
We missed the best part.
oh yeah. You like, yeah. But basically, this program is about people that's been through different things in their life, drugs, depression, all different type of stuff, and it's really about people surviving and coming out of their addiction, their problems, to testify, to let people know that people can overcome tragedies, all type of situation, and a lot of times, like I say, support is just that person, period. But we talking about addiction and recovery and stuff like that, because sometimes recovery can be hard, it can be easy.
Hmm.
But I think the grace of God that He kind of made mine easy, but it was hard from time to time. But it was always about choices. Do I go over here? Do I walk this way? And I had to pull myself back. But anyway, we want to talk to Brother Richie and just tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your name? Where you from? If you want to.
Yeah, I'm Richie Drennan. I'm originally from Robinson, Illinois. I moved up here to Champaign in 1999,
Yeah.
and I thought I had my life together then, but it just got worse and worse.
So was you in the? Did you go to the prison, the work release camp when he was here?
Yeah, I came through here through the work release program up on Cunningham Avenue when it was used to be up there by the
Yeah, that was long.
children's home.
Yeah, that's how a lot of brothers got here. A lot of people got here from that from work release. Yeah, for years they had work release. So did you live here before, or you just when you got out work release you stayed here?
No, I knew I couldn't go back to my hometown. You know, once you're in trouble in a little town, it just follows you everywhere.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a blessing that I had the opportunity to come here through the Department of Corrections. Because if I would have had to go back home, I would have probably just kept repeating the cycle, which I ended up anyway. But I never did end up back in prison, but I ended up in the county jail 2 or 3 times. You know.
Oh, okay.
Before we get farther into your story, we should introduce that this is Conscious Community Connections, and
Oh,
my name's Alicia. This is Damon and Brother Richie here. Like Damon said, this is going to be a program where we're going to be interviewing Brother Richie as he talks about his journey to sobriety and some of the hardships that he endured in his life, that kind of led him here to this point. Um, so the views that are being expressed here are those of the members of the Conscious Community Connection and not of the IMC building in Urbana or any other governmental establishment. This is our own. This is WRFU 104.5. And yeah, these are just our views. I'm sorry. I totally forgot the disclaimer, so I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
that's all you can do is your best.
I hate that disclaimer. I'm never good at it.
If
I
no
think
one if you never knowed, you would have never you'd have thought you just knew it by heart.
Not at all.
yeah,
No.
Heather and Tiger, they be saying it, boy. They know how to
I
say
know
it.
they know about it. I don't know
Yeah,
what
they
my
know it by
problem.
heart.
I have to write it down. I had it written down one time and then I lost it. So I
Yeah.
just need to like write it back down.
Get some
That's what I do.
get some copies of it, just in case.
I do. I need to tape it somewhere.
Is that just for your own purposes for being live on, or
For the
how's that work?
radio
Yeah.
station. Yeah.
Oh, for
Right.
the radio station. Okay.
Yeah, we just want everybody to know that, that the things that we say isn't necessarily connected to any other organization or establishment, and
Sure.
that some of the things that we say can be considered controversial.
Mm.
So
Yeah, just for safety.
Yeah, we just
yeah,
everybody speak their own opinion. Some people
I'll
get
take the
lost.
blame. I'll
Yeah.
take the
Oh,
blame.
no.
I'll take the blame for my big mouth. I don't want to.
Yeah, I
I
don't get.
just spit it out. When
Yeah,
you tell the truth, you just tell the truth. You don't know what might come out.
I,
yeah.
that's how I feel.
Hmm.
And sometimes the truth is a little bit blunt, and sometimes
It
people
is.
Yeah.
have.
Sometimes, yeah. You,
get hurt feelings and all that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
Everybody got different opinions,
Oh
you're right.
yeah.
and that's when the feelings get into it. When you think
Right.
somebody should agree with you, and because they're your friend or something, that's a lot of times I got into it with some of my friends because I be like, nah, that ain't right. That was part of when I was in the safe house, and after when I was doing a lot of work at the safe house, and when my friends came in there, they were assuming that we got 20, 30 years on the streets. I was gonna, turn away from them doing wrong or not being obedient to the program or not,
Sure.
holding them accountable for the actions that they was doing. And I lost a lot of friends because of that. But you know what? But that helped me though too grow.
Right.
Because you got to learn how to walk away people you love to change your life. Because sometimes people ain't where they want to be at, and they can pull you in just being around them. Like they say, they mess.
Yeah. So, Brother Richie, like, I know that you had started to say that you weren't originally from here and that you came from somewhere else and you moved here to Champaign. And so you've kind of experienced having to, leave some people behind, while you're on this
Absolutely.
journey. Yeah, so why don't you just go ahead and start saying, just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, even it had been a long time since I'd been home anyway. The 3.5 years that I spent in the Department of Corrections, I was already gone anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, I went through the heartaches and the lonesomeness and the leaving everybody in the cell. I didn't have no choice but to get through it on my own because you ain't gonna get no help in there.
yeah,
Trust me, there ain't nobody gonna feel sorry for you in there because you're
yeah,
because you're missing mom and dad. That's just a choice I had made.
yeah,
And so by the
mm,
time I got up here, I had already went through that. Of I knew I had to change atmosphere. I knew I couldn't go back home.
yeah,
But
Mm-hmm.
that was but they after I got up here and got out, they agreed to that as well because it was they didn't want to see me hurt anymore.
yeah,
Hurt myself, with the decisions I was making. So they knew I'd be in trouble because in a little small town, it's just bad up here. Everybody knows everybody,
yeah, yeah.
but it wasn't a good thing when I left. So I knew that was in 1999, and
Man,
that I left, and I got up here in 2000, late 2000, 2001.
that's where Robinson. That's where the prison at, right?
Yeah, there's a prison there.
Yeah,
I was over in Lincoln. I came from Lincoln. I went to Mount Vernon, Big Muddy, and then they transferred me to Lincoln.
Big
And then
money.
yeah, ooh,
Mm,
ain't no part of that.
yeah,
And then
man.
I came up here to the work release center, and I was in there about 10 months before I was on house arrest.
Yeah,
And even though you're on house arrest, they still let you drink. You can't have no dirty drops, but you can still drink, which is just as
Mm.
about as bad.
yeah. Because sooner or later you gonna jump back on that path with all that drinking.
Yeah, I had an ankle bracelet for 14 months at
Oh,
home. Only time I could leave the house was to go to work and go. They gave me 6 hours of free time a week, and I'd use that all at one time on Sunday because that's the only day I had off. But when I was in the work release center, I knew Mr. Dixon. I don't know if you guys familiar with James Dixon here in the community.
uh-uh.
He was a I don't remember exactly what his title was, but he got us jobs at the work release center. He was a job enforcement, and
Okay.
he got me a good job out at Alloy Casting, and I was able to save up about $13,000
Wow.
while I was in the work release center. So that was huge. That was a
So,
huge
so
step to get
how long was you in the work release center? For 10 months?
9 months, 10 months. Yeah,
And you saved that much money?
yeah, because they Alloy Casting back in the day, they would let you work overtime. They wouldn't let you work any more than 16 hours a day. But why not? I didn't have nowhere to go anyway.
Yeah, you right. Yeah,
Sit there and go to bed. So it
yeah,
wasn't 12, 14-hour day. I didn't have nothing else to do.
yeah. Nobody want to. Ain't nobody trying to rush you back to no work release. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And
and
this
then
is
what?
your
And then
best
what
year
happened? Right, and then what happened was I got to know the people at Alloy, and that I ended up renting a house off of them.
off of somebody that worked there.
No, the company.
What?
They owned a lot of houses out there. It's off of Mattis behind Kraft
Yeah.
in that little park area, Glen Park area, right there across from McDonald's off of Mattis.
Wow.
They ended up owning a bunch of homes, and so I was able to rent off of them. So then on work release, all I had to do was just walk across the backyard to work. You know, it was really convenient, almost too convenient. But
that can be trouble too, can't it, Brother Richie?
Well, that can be said. You know, one thing led to another. Them brothers out there now, they're partying and don't have no problems. I was the one that didn't know when to go home. You know.
Yeah, and you know they tracking you. You got this thing. I had it on my ankle too, man. It was just like, man, it was so many times that I was going to cut that thing off. I was like, man, I'm going to cut it off. But I
didn't have no trouble. I made it. I had a 3.5 years in the joint, and then a year on house arrest and 2.5 years parole. So I was pretty tied up for a while.
Yeah.
But then when you get loose and you're drinking all the time, probation officer come by, you'd be out in the yard drinking. They didn't care if you drank as long as you didn't have no dirty drop, you know.
Yeah. Back then. Now yeah.
But that just fueled the fire, you know. That was just because you knew your limit. You know, you had a limit on your addiction had a limit. You know, you couldn't be completely passed out when the parole officer showed up, you know.
So when did you fall back into it?
I was thinking earlier after we had talked yesterday, I didn't start getting in trouble with my addiction until I was 33 years old. That's when I started getting DUIs in my life.
You was older then.
Yeah, I was in my late 30s because I was working construction. And then, like I say, I got addicted to nerve pills. I got addicted to a drug called Ativan.
Dang.
And I was snorting cocaine back in the day, and then there was no crack or nothing back in the day. We'd snort cocaine, and then we'd take the nerve pills to come down off of the cocaine high, and then drinking was just to wash everything down. You know, the pills, and they were prescription. It was legal drugs. It was dangerous. It was very scary.
Yeah, and then see, a lot of people don't realize that them pills can be very dangerous, and that's how a lot of people started. You know, pills and smoking weed. You know, some people just smoke weed and then it'll go to a different level. Some people can maintain it, and some people can't. You know,
and I got addicted to those pain pills or the Ativan, and then it got to be where I would run out of those, and then I'd have seizures from the withdrawal.
Wow.
From the withdrawal of the because they'd give you like 180 a month, like 3 or 4 times a day. You know, it was very almost like suicide considered today. And so I was taking those, and whenever I would come out of those, I'd run out before I could get my prescription filled.
So how many times? How many pills you supposed to took a day?
180 a month, 4 times a day. I was getting 180 a month and running out.
You was taking like 8 of them a day or something?
Because I could use the pills to get high. I didn't have to spend as much money on drinking by taking the pills.
When was all this? Like, how old were you when you were?
That started in the middle 30s, probably 35, 38 years old.
And you had told me, we had spoke earlier this week, that you had actually been an alcoholic for about 40 years, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and so then all of a sudden it just kind of progressed.
What am I, 59 now? I was 47 going on 48 when I entered the safe house. I've been sober 11 years.
So how long were you addicted to Ativan?
Oh man.
And what you said it was cocaine first, then it went into crack and alcohol all at the same time. So how long were you doing that?
I didn't start doing crack till I was up here after 2000 till after 2000. I was never even introduced to that. They didn't have it. There was none of that in a small town.
You got to the hood, they gave you some, huh?
I was working at the hotel out here on North Neal Street. I was working
Oh,
at the
yeah.
hotel, and I had no idea what it even was. We were just drinking, having a good old boy time, you know. And the next thing I know, I'm behind the building smoking out of a pipe, no clue what it even was. But being an addict, I said, give me some more, you know. And
Yeah.
the fight was on,
The fight was
and
on.
yeah, and it just well, you know, it wasn't all the time. It wasn't something. Crack isn't something you do like cocaine. You can do cocaine and you know and still function. Crack cocaine, you can't do anything. I couldn't anyway.
Yeah.
These are just the way it affected me.
So
But you would do anything to get it. That's
yeah,
how I ended up back in the county up here, is
yeah,
because I would steal money from my employer to get it. I was selling scooters, and we'd have people come in. Scooter would cost between $1,500 and $2,000. They'd put $700-800 down cash, and I'd steal the cash to go get high.
man.
Yeah, that's when my boss had me arrested. But it's not like, I don't know if they call recreational drugs or whatever, which is all a lie. But it's not something you can do and go sit back down at the bar and drink some more beer. That ain't how it
No,
works. That
no.
ain't how it worked for me.
It's
Now,
like
cocaine,
it's
you can
like
take
being a
cocaine
roller coaster. It's a
back.
roller coaster.
Yeah, you could take cocaine and go in the bathroom at the bar and you know, snort some cocaine and go back up to the bar and sit down, and that can finish your beers. But crack cocaine isn't like that.
So what part of your life that you think that hit you that you know that you need to completely change your life? You know, I know like me, I know certain things happened to me where I started seeing it and I'm like, man, I got to do something about it. I'm talking about really realize that you have a problem, that your life is going completely the wrong way, that you're gonna die or you're gonna end up back in prison. You know, because I was going through stuff like that where I wasn't paying attention, but it was some things that happened like, man, I got to catch myself. I got to get myself together.
Yeah, I was living up. I was working for a painter here in town. This is even after 2000 and after 2000. I was trying to put the dates together. It would had to been 2005 or six probably. And I was working for a painter here in town, and he paid cash every day. And so we had drinking money and crack money every day. And I was living in a house that we were remodeling up on Vine Street in Champaign, up north of the church. West Vine, I think it is, up there by not quite by, I think it's Spalding Park. I'm not sure the area up in there. And I woke up that day and I was broke, and I didn't, you know, usually we kept a little money the next morning to get a tall boy or something to take the edge off just to make it through the day. You know, you'd have to drink 2 or 3 beers just to be able to function the next morning to keep the shakes down.
Yeah,
And I woke up and didn't have nothing. And I knew, and I was facing court. I had to go to court in a couple of weeks. I don't even remember what I'd done then. And I knew I was in trouble. So I left that house that morning and I went to an AA meeting up at 120. They used to have AA meetings up there right by Christie Clinic at a little place up above the Walnut Tea Shop called 120 South Neal. I went up there and told them I was at the end of my rope. I didn't have nowhere else to go. I couldn't get back in the Prairie Center. I couldn't get back in none of them places. I had wore my welcome out at all them places. There was nothing else they could do. I went through Prairie Center, I don't know, 100 times.
I
Went,
know.
went through their extended care program when their housing was up above the Salvation Army. I went through all that. I was done. And running in and out of detoxes, you know, in the middle night like tonight, detox would be full
Yeah,
because it's cold outside.
yeah,
So I went to that AA meeting, and there was a gentleman up there. I told him, I said, I'm facing court, and I don't know what's going to happen, and I need some help. And one guy said that there's a place over in Urbana called the Men's Safe House.
yeah. Oh, that's how you heard about it.
That's how I heard about it. And so that I left there and went over there, and that's when Brother Green was on vacation. And
Okay.
Brother John was getting ready to take the brothers to Parkland for class. And that's when they was putting in all the windows in the house. I don't remember what year that was. Remember when they replaced all the windows and everything?
That was before my time. When I got there, they already had the
And
windows in.
John said, I'm not supposed to take anybody in till Brother Green gets back from vacation.
Yeah.
He said, stay here. I'll talk to you when I get back from Parkland. So I sat on the front porch, waited on him to get back, and come to find out, Brother Gary, you remember Brother Gary that was in there?
Yeah.
He was in there. Thank God he was, because he talked Brother John into letting me in while Brother Green was on vacation. Probably saved my life.
Yeah, he did say that was an angel. He, you know.
So me and Brother John, I owe Brother John, you know, that's my brother there. He saved me.
Yeah.
He let me come in. And but we went through a rough time till Brother Green got there. You know, a couple of weeks after that, Brother Green came. Man, I didn't know what was going to happen then.
Yeah, Brother Green come up in there with a vengeance.
Man, he come up in there. What are you doing here? Who are you? And all this kind of stuff. I was like, Lord Jesus, what did I get myself into? And but I had to go to court, and I was facing a lot of time.
See, at that time, they probably be thinking everybody come to the Safe Album different program to get out of trouble, you know.
Right.
When they get out of trouble, they leave, you know. Then after a while, when you were a director and you working in there, you put so much faith in somebody, and you know, you do everything to try to help that person get on track. And then soon they feel that they don't need you anymore or need the program, they just leave. And at first I was getting upset, but then I started praying for them because I knew that the demon was still on their back from them drugs because they thought they could make it, you know. And I'll be like, man, you know, sometimes that's why they say sometimes jail save people.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's a wake-up call for some people. Some people pay attention, they don't.
Just to get out of that atmosphere.
Yeah, so then when you met Brother Green, what happened?
Oh man, I met Brother Green, and of course he take you in the office, you know, and sat down. I just had to tell him the truth, man. I take the most important thing about my recovery, even today, is by trusting Brother Green. I had to find somebody in my life that I could trust to tell everything. You know, you got to share everything. You can't hide nothing.
Brother Green,
Because if you hide one thing, you can't have any reservations at all. If you have any kind of money, if you have any place to go,
yeah,
it will never work until you run completely out of options. That's what happened. That's what I had to get to for me.
yeah, I see some brothers coming in with their unemployment and try to get their unemployment started while they're in there. And
you ain't done.
First check, they run.
Yeah, because that's just the devil's going to tell you that, you know, you don't need this. You still have money in your pocket to go get another drink until you run out of air. I was out of options everywhere, and I had to go to court, and I was facing 10 years. I was facing 10 years in jail, and we went to court that day, and I had no idea who Brother Green was. I'd never heard of Safe House. I'd never heard of nothing. And we went to court in front of Judge DeFanis, and he called Brother Green to get up on the stand. Brother Green had to get up on the stand. He didn't know me from nobody. And he got up on the stand and told the judge that I didn't have no addiction problem. I had a sin problem. And this lady sitting beside me like, who is this guy? I said, I have no idea who this guy is.
He got a sin problem.
Yeah, he did.
He got a lust problem.
And Judge DeFanis stood up and gave Brother Green his cell phone number.
Yeah.
And he said, if this brother here leaves, you call me, and I'm going to make sure he does every day of this 10 years.
Yep, and that started happening too. Brother Green get up there and stuff, and then they run. Soon they get their little probation, whatever. They run out the door. Some of them didn't get their clothes.
I didn't have that choice. I was court ordered. See, I knew I had to have something different. I prayed for something different, and I got it. And I had to sit down, but the guys in front of us was going to jail for probation violations. Here I was facing 10 years. He wanted to give me 10 years because I had stole that money from my employer. And
over $300.
And Brother Green, we walked out that door, and he said, Brother Green says, how does it feel to have your life back? because he knew, he knew Judge DeForest wasn't playing. But that still, it didn't stop there. I did the year. You remember helping me move.
Yeah.
After church.
Yeah.
Taking my clothes in a wheelbarrow. Come on now.
Yeah.
We went down to the house, remember?
Yeah.
And it wasn't 6 months, or it wasn't 30 days. I was drunk by Thanksgiving. I got out in October and was drunk by Thanksgiving. The second time. And then 6 months later, my mom and dad had stayed for my graduation. They usually go to Florida about end of August, 1st September. They knew I was going to graduate 1st of October, so they stayed. They didn't go to Florida till after, because they came up for the graduation. And they only was going to Florida in the winter then. By the time they went to Florida and came back in April, I was back in the county.
Man.
By April. That's how fast. By taking that year off, the disease of alcoholism progresses in your body, whether you're drinking or not.
Yeah, because it still be in you, be in your flesh. You be waiting to come out.
Waiting for you to drink.
Yeah.
And when I started back drinking, I lost my mind. After studying the Bible for a year, I knew the difference. You couldn't get drunk. You couldn't get the same effect as you could before. So you just drink more and more and more. And I done the same thing again. The boss that hired me, that had me arrested, rehired me to come back to work again. And I did it again. I did the same thing again. And it was Easter so that would have been in April. I was at a party up off of Bradley at those little homes. I don't even know what they call it now. Up there off of Bradley, up there by Reverend Carter's old house. Up there across the street from him. And I get a text message from a Champaign police detective. I got a text message and said, "We know where you're at. Dale is going to have you arrested again." And I give up. I called the police, and I said, "I'm standing here at the corner of Bradley and 6th or whatever it was." And it wasn't 2 seconds till I was surrounded. I was tired. I was wore out. I was shot. I knew it was going to kill me.
Yeah, you came to that point where it was like
I knew. Yeah, because I had stolen $1,500. And I wasn't going to quit until I smoked it all. And it'll kill you. Trust me, it'll kill you.
Yeah, it'll kill you.
With that much.
Yeah.
And so Dale had me arrested again. And I called the sheriff or the deputy, the detective. And they surrounded me and took me to jail, of course.
So did you have some of the money left?
No, I was completely out. I wasn't going to the county jail with no money.
What you talking about? It kill you? It didn't kill you. It was gone.
I tell you what, if I'd have had another nickel, it would have. I was done. I was out. I was tired of it.
I thought you didn't save $300 or $400 to give back.
No, bro, come on now. You know better than that. No, you ain't gonna go to the county with no money.
No, you're gonna go to the last drop gone.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I was at the mental stage of being, I was out of control. I knew I was.
Yeah, especially when you go to the county, when you like that, man, that's just as mental. Especially when you that next day.
Yeah, they had me they had to watch me like 3 days to go through the withdrawal of all of it, just so nothing would happen.
Man.
They've got mental health experts at the county jail as well. And they had me in that little place, that little room by yourself and watching. You're under like a watch. I don't remember how, but it was probably every half an hour or something. Their guards checking on you. And finally, I ended up getting in the back, and that's like a relief,
Yeah, I ain't never went through that before.
But after that, my probation officer came to see me at the county. And she said, "I'll tell you what. One thing that happened, and I had been lying to her about anytime I knew I'd been smoking or drinking. I'd call her, tell her I was sick, you know. And she said, "Well, I don't want you up here. We'll just reschedule your appointment." That's how she trusted me.
Yeah. I was just do my probation officer like
She
that.
trusted
Excuses all the time.
And so, and then after I got caught, I didn't have no choice but to tell her the truth. Her and Brother Green came to the county jail, and she told me, she said, "Your only chance of ever, the only thing that saved me the second time was I didn't go back in front of Judge DeFanis. I went in front of Judge Heidi Ladd the second time."
Yeah, sometimes if you go back in front of that same judge, they say, "I'm tired of looking at you."
Yeah.
And they say they're tired of looking at you and seeing you. They be serious.
It would have been a different story if I'd have had to go in front of Judge DeFanis. But I had Judge Heidi Ladd. And the one thing that happened, Brother Damon, was when they came out there and told me that my only chance was to ever stay out of prison was to get back in the safe house. And I didn't know what that even meant. I didn't know there would even be an option. I didn't know how much power the safe house had as far as I didn't know. I just didn't know what the safe house was all about.
So later on, they're giving you another chance. A lot of people don't realize that the safe house do help people, because if you say you up under them, then they'll think about giving you, okay, we're gonna give him one more shot, even though we can give him 8 years or 10 years right now. We know we can, and he should get it. But since he with the safe house and you got representation from the safe house with you, we're going to give him one more chance. And I've seen that a lot. And a lot of brothers take advantage of it.
She came in there, and Brother Green, when they were sitting in there, you know, you're in that little visiting booth. And of course, I'm just telling them everything. Then I didn't have no choice but to tell them the truth, you know. And one thing that happened that I'll never forget was when they were leaving, I said, "Well, I have to get a hold of my mom, you know, and all that to see if I can get out of here and get back over there." And one thing that happened as they was leaving, Brother Green left, and the probation officer, you know, I had to tell her the truth. And she poked her head back in the window and said, "I don't know when I'll ever see you again."
Wow.
And I knew right then that was the last person I'd ever lied to ever again.
Wow. Now I know that had to be a scary feeling.
And I had to go back to myself. And they left, you know, and I had to process this. And I've never forgot that to this day. Never. I'll never forget the look on her face, because she was so disappointed, because, you know, she had given me every opportunity.
Man.
And so we went back, and I got bonded out. My mom came and bonded me out, and I went back to the safe house, and we went back to court. And Judge Heidi Ladd, she said, "Mr. Drennan," she said, "I've been a judge of first and second chances, but never fourth or fifth." Ooh. She says, "I'm not going to be responsible if you get out there and mess up again, so I'm going to let you make the decision." And I said, "Let me make the decision." I said, "How does this work?" She said, "I'm not going to be responsible if you get out there and mess up again." She said, "They've got a bed for you, or I've got a bed for you for a long time." So they sent me back to the safe house again.
Man.
The second time. And that was it. That was April 2nd of 2010.
Now, how was your mother dealing with all this, man?
Oh, my mom was crazy. She didn't know if she'd ever see me again either.
Because she's a beautiful woman and a beautiful spirit, man. She's a real nice woman. Lady, yep. She really is, man.
And so that's the first time I'd ever experienced grace. I didn't know what grace was. I just thought it was being lucky, you know. No, you just experienced grace. And I'm not going to go back out there today and test my grace. If I have to go back ever to the courthouse again, it's over. And then I had safe house and drug court. I had safe house and drug court at the same time. They sentenced me to drug court and safe house. And you talk about mentally, you're in groups at the Prairie Center all day long. And then you're at safe house at night. You know, it was a mental battle but Brother Green was able to break it down biblically.
Yeah.
He was able to, like, renewing of the mind, and all
Mm-hmm.
that's, it's all real. It
Yeah.
really is. And I didn't know it at the time how serious it was. I
Yeah.
just knew my life was on the line.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You got anything to say, sister Alicia? You got anything to ask the brother? I know we've been running off the mouth.
No, no, we do have to do the disclaimer though,
Okay.
and Tiger was nice enough to put it up in the comments for me.
All right.
That's a
So
blessing.
that's nice. So this is Conscious Community Connections, where we keep the community connected. Views expressed here are those of the speakers and not represented by WRFU, UCIMC, or any socialist forum.
Okay.
But one of the most important things was
Support.
to bring it to the to is you got to find somebody that you can trust with your life, that will be honest with you. You know how Brother Green is. They just tell you the truth. This is how it's going to be,
No.
and that will just give you, and that brings freedom in your life from everything. You got to have somebody, and I male to male and woman to woman. It works. You gotta stay out of that atmosphere and that cycle. It's nothing but a constant cycle running back and forth mentally.
Yeah.
And I lost my mind mentally the second time when I was in the county jail the last time, 38 days. I was in the county jail going crazy. You remember Deacon Alexander from the church? He
Yeah.
was a sergeant at the county, and they would have to come and get me out of my cell. I was having anxiety so bad when they locked that cell door down at night. This is how you know when it's the end, when you got to get it together, because you get sick of going through this. When they unlock your cell at 6 a.m. and they don't lock it back until 10 p.m.
That's crazy.
30 minutes after they locked that cell, I would go into full-blown anxiety attacks, and they're not going to give you no medicine, trust me.
No.
Deacon Alexander was the sergeant in booking, and he would have to put in an order to one of the other correctional officers to come down there and get me out. And they would take me down to booking, and I would sit over in the corner in a chair till I felt I was safe enough to go back to that cell, because I would go crazy in that 8 by 10 cell. I was losing my mind. And when you get to that point, you get sick of it.
Yeah.
You get sick of going, bouncing back and forth, in and out, and you just can't. I just couldn't keep on like that. I knew that was the end. I knew that was the end of my addiction. I had to get it under control right then. I knew it was over.
But so was it over then?
Yes, it was over there, and that was April 2nd of 2010, and I've never touched a drop since.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Because you have to exhaust all your resources. You can't have any kind of reservations on a place to go, money in the bank, or anything like that, because that will just tempt you. The temptation will, until you get strong enough. It was probably 4 years after I got sober that I even had any money in my pocket. Canaan took care of. One thing about Canaan, they had the credit union. They paid all my bills. I had my check direct deposited to the credit union. They paid all my bills and gave me money for groceries and laundry. And that's the only thing I had, was just a little bit of cash. And then I'd pay them rent. I was renting off of them.
Yeah.
But the trust factor is huge. I got blessed with a probation officer. I got blessed with the judges. That's when I realized that the system is for you and not against you. If you're ready, if you're done. If you're not, you'll fight them. You'll fight them to the end.
Mhm.
And when I went through drug court, me and Judge Ford became best friends, and because if you're not if you don't get it, you'll go out the right hand side of the door in the courthouse, and he'll take you right back to jail.
Yeah.
I got tired. I've been in so many of them, Brother Damon. I could teach the class. I could teach the classes on all that stuff. And there has to be a time in your life when you apply it.
Yeah. You know, you get older and you start realizing you want things in your life, and other people in your life, and it's time to wake up.
One thing about it is, and this is what I learned in there as well, there was 10 or 11 of us in there at one time, and every one of us was at a different stage in our
Life, diction.
addiction and life,
Yeah,
Uh, and so for Brother Green to be able to discern who's where and all that,
man,
that's amazing on his part.
Brother Green was up in there busting people's heads too. Brother Green was up in there a soldier for what I'm telling you.
But
Brother Green was rough, man. I'm telling you. The
thank
old
God he
man,
was. Thank God he was. Thank God he was, huh?
the old man was rough.
Well, the only thing, I was sharing when we talked earlier in the week, and I said the only thing I don't want to have to go back, and the only thing I can't do is drink that one beer. I ain't going back to safe house. I'm not going to drink one beer just so I can get to go back. No, it's over.
Yeah, cause Brother Green he gonna let you come back. He gonna be like, it was rough out there, wasn't it? Uh-huh.
Oh,
He gonna tell you it was rough.
but for
It
other
was rough out there.
that's going through it, you've got to because what I found out through all the classes was I had manipulation skills, brother. I could talk you out of anything.
Yeah,
You become sick to get what you want. I could make my mom think it was her fault that I was a drunk, that I was an alcoholic, and she'd feel bad and send me money, thinking it was her fault, and that's the sickness of the disease.
yeah. You become smart. I've seen people
Yeah.
become smart, intelligent, and stuff like
So
that. Good.
when I got
That's the trouble.
when I got free, it set my mom and dad free. My dad had always had to have some rat hole money saved back over the years because he didn't know, because he loved my mother, and my mother wanted me to get me out of jail. He's in trouble again. We got to go get him, one of these deals. And they did that for 30 years. He had to have money saved back in order to come bond me out or wherever I was, just because he loved her.
Yeah.
He would do that because he was my stepfather, but he's my
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah. So, what would you say to some brother you see out there struggling? How would you approach him? You know that we deal with it daily. Especially when we are still around the safe house, and there's people that still struggling out there, man. How do you, when you catch a brother, man? What do you, type of advice you give him to, to hold on? Because, and plus you already know how it is. That first
What?
couple of weeks.
Oh, it's rough. If you can get through the first 3 months, then you've got a good chance. But whenever we get somebody that comes to the church asking for help, usually it's they just want money, and you know what the money's for.
Yeah.
They just want to go get a drink or whatever, and sometimes that helps save somebody's life. I've been to the point where a drink will save your life. When I was coming off of those pills and I was coming
Yeah.
off of that alcohol,
Yeah.
and a tall boy in the morning take the shakes off. So there's sometimes when a $5 bill and a tall can of beer would save somebody from either hallucinating
Having a
or
seizure.
having a seizure or a heart attack. Yeah. And with so many organizations now helping the homeless, and there's so many places to go. But another thing, the hardest part about that is when you're in addiction and you're looking for help, you're not wanting to go somewhere there's 200 people. Trust me.
Yeah. It's
You need
hard.
somebody that will take you in one on one. You're not trying to be around a bunch of people, and that's the worst thing about it now is I can't take them in my house. Where are you going to send somebody?
Yeah.
To even get help today. There's
Yeah.
you could go to, used to be able to go to a detox center.
Yeah.
I've been medically detoxed before. I don't know how many times they'd give you medication to keep you from having the shakes you used to be able to go to detox for 7 days, and that would help you at least be able to make a clear decision on what
Yeah.
you wanted to do with your life. Detox center in this town, I don't know what Rosecrans is doing. I'm not sure. I I haven't followed them for a long time.
Pavilion got the 5 days. They got a. It's up to now. It's like
Did
three
a
to 4
5 day.
days. It's no more than 5 days after for detox now. They
Well, and a lot of
started
thing
free.
is nobody's got insurance. It's all about the money in them kind of places, and
Yeah,
you can't. If I'd have had to have money to go to the safe house to get out of court, I'd have never made it. I didn't have a nickel. You
yeah.
know, it's about you can only stay in there now with if you've got the best insurance. You can probably stay 30 days, maybe. I don't even know what the state regulations are anymore. Used to be 30 days. I don't know if still is.
28 days. 28 days.
28 days, yeah, but what's that going to get you? That's just going to get
Right.
you,
Just get you to rest and sleep.
yeah, that's going to get you a rest and you'll be fiending for a beer. But you've got to have some place for them to go. We don't, I mean, even though they come to the church, you've got to have somebody that you can call meeting. When people are asking for help, it's now. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning. They don't want to wait till the place opens up at 7 in the morning. That their mind's going to change again by then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You've got to have somebody on call that you've got to catch them when they're at their lowest in order for them to get the help they need. And a detox center used to be open 24 hours a day.
Yeah, they
It used
stopped all that.
it used to be at the Prairie Center there on Hill Street. Been there a
I
hundred.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but when somebody makes a decision to change their life, it's not going to be at lunch on at noon at lunch. It's going to be when you're running out of money at 10:30 at night and Piccadilly's is closing and somebody's saying, "Hey, where are you going to go? You can't come with us. You don't got no money."
It's raining outside or a storm.
Pouring down rain, snowing, or -10 like it is tonight. And that's the one thing about when Tony was working for See You at Home. He would come out in the middle of the night and get brothers help. He would be there. You could call him any time of the day or the night. And but he's no longer with See You at Home. He's over here at See You Church now. But the decision comes when you're just leaving a party or you're. It does, like I say, it doesn't come over breakfast in the morning. Oh, I think I'll change today. No, it's going to be when you've had the biggest night of your life and you're tired. That's
Mhm.
and that's when somebody has to be available.
So what keeps you clean and keep you going? What first 2 3 years of being clean? What did that what kept you sober?
I was free. I was free. The first time I'd been free in my life.
You were just happy.
First time I'd been free in my whole life and not had to. I was not under control of anything. I was in control of my own life. I was able to make my own decisions. I was able to pay my own bills, and
So
that was
let me so let me ask this question.
uh-huh.
So, you're saying 30 days isn't really long enough for someone to, you know, reach a level of sobriety. Like it
No,
takes, especially for somebody who's been addicted for a really long time, their whole entire body is saturated with it. And at best, if
Woo!
anything, they're just going through withdrawals at that time. They're not necessarily
Saturated with drugs
detoxed,
and
right?
alcohol.
Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
yes,
Okay.
correct.
So then I'm wondering, because I know that you're saying that you felt free. So what was that moment that you actually felt free? Because it had to have been like longer than 30 days. Like what was and what how did you know that you were free? Was it like your thinking started to just be clearer, or how did you know? How long did it take you to be free, and then how did you know when you actually were free?
I didn't even know how to when I went into the safe house the second time, and that's when reality hit that this was I'm going to have to either get it together or I'm never going to. I had to, they call it reparenting class at the church. There was a lot of things that I had to unlearn that I had been told over the years that was not true. How to I had to learn how to be a man. I had to grow up. I had to learn how to handle the responsibility without letting the pressure of life overtake me into making me want to have a drink. We had Restoration Urban Ministries on Monday night. Tuesday we was in class at Parkland. Wednesday we was in Bible study at the church. Thursday we was in choir. Friday we mowed the yards. Saturday we had men's class. Saturday afternoon we had visit, and Saturday evening, if we didn't have nothing going on, Deacon Somerville was taking us somewhere to sing somewhere. I learned how to. I was blended back into society without anybody even knowing I was in a treatment, in any kind of recovery center. And that made me feel like people. I was singing on stage at the Cranner Center with the black chorus in the safe house, and people had no idea who we even were. It was such an amazing experience with Dr. Davis at the university. Remember, Brother Damon? We was down there.
Yeah, we sitting right in the middle with them.
They, blend, they blended us in, and no one, the other 200 people that was singing, had no idea who we even were. And we're looking at each other like if they only knew where we were at,
Yeah,
they wouldn't be wanting to stand beside us.
yeah,
But that's when you learn that you don't have to be ashamed of your life. You don't have to be ashamed of
no,
taking a drink. You don't. There's people out there. One thing that I learned about being free was I don't have to be ashamed. I don't have to hide nothing from nobody. There's people out there today that's in these high places, in these businesses, that run these corporations that's got more to hide than I do. Because I came free from all my mess, and I kind of like it staying free on a daily basis.
yeah,
Because if you let that stuff build up, I worked at a liquor store one time, and the owner told me, whatever you do, don't pay attention to who's driving these cars coming through these liquor stores. You would be surprised at who drives through a liquor store on their way home from work every night that hides it in their house. We don't have to hide nothing.
nope,
We learn that you don't have to duck your head. You don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be ashamed of where you've been, what you've done. You've been set free. And once I learned that through the safe house, Brother Green teach you that. Because one thing about Brother Green, he went through the program. He came there addicted to crack. He came there and then he turned around being the director.
yeah,
And so it was over a year before I learned that I could take care of myself and not have to and still have money left over and not have to drink. I went through classes at Canaan, financial classes, to learn how to make sure your bills had to be paid on time, how to balance your budget, how to plan everything. And that's when but the biggest thing was I had to grow up and take responsibility of where I was at and what got me there. Until that happened, nothing would ever change. So it would have been probably, I'm going to say, close to 3 years before they started making me handling my own finances.
wow,
And I was 48 or 9 years old because I just lived paycheck to paycheck. I'd get a paycheck, I'd drink half of it, and hopefully didn't drink at all. And then you wouldn't have no electricity till the next week. But it was 3 years before, because Sister Amber was down there then.
yeah,
And I had to go down there every Friday when I got paid and take my Ameren bill, take my water bill, take all the bills to her. And we made sure they was all paid on time.
wow,
It took a long time, because what happens is when you go through that, it's not only a man thing about being able to take care of your own business. It's what you're designed to do. It's the design of life is to take the responsibility. You're the man of the house, You have to take responsibility and make sure everything's in order. It wasn't easy, but I always had enough money to do it because I wasn't drinking. I wasn't spending my money where it wasn't supposed to go. Of course, there was things I never went without nothing. There was things I liked to buy. Don't get me wrong, but I never went without food. I never. Once I got sober, I had everything I needed
Man,
as long as I stayed focused on Jesus at the church and putting the church first and serving in the church and giving back to the church. One thing that I learned was when you go into the safe house, they don't charge you nothing.
yeah,
But your mentality changes over the years of how do I repay these people for taking care of me? What would it cost to take care of somebody for a year in a program? And I already had 2 years that they had taken care of me and didn't charge me a nickel. So you got to be grateful for where do these people come from. Even today, the program is still open today
yeah,
for anybody that wants to go through and change their life. But they ain't gonna charge you nothing.
nothing.
They showed me so much grace, and I've stayed. I'm still a member. I've been over there. I will never leave, and if they until they close the doors, I'll be there forever because you're so grateful for what they've done in your life to get you back on track.
Hmm.
You got to give back. I do. I mean, some people don't. Don't get me wrong, but I've got. I've got to. If I ever walked off, I can't say I would stay sober 6 months because that's your gratitude. That's your foundation. And I've seen people do it and struggle. I've seen people leave and struggle. There's a lot of them that's left and struggling, but I'm not going to be one of them. That's how important it is to me to stay sober today. And because I trust them, I've looked through the Bible. I've looked through everything and tried to find an excuse to leave that they lied to me about something, and I've never found nothing. The first day I met Pastor Tatum, he said, "We're going to love you right out of your addiction." And I'd been in treatment centers for 30 years, 40 years. I'd never heard that in my life.
Mm.
And I was like, where did this guy come from? I never heard this in my life. It was almost overwhelming. That's why I relapsed the first time is because the love of God and the love of Canaan overwhelmed me. I thought this is too good to be true. I was going to sabotage it just so I could say it didn't work.
Yeah,
Wow.
But the second time, then I thought, well, they did it once for me. They do once for anybody. But when they did it for me the second time, I knew it was serious. I knew it was coming from the heart. And I could call them right now. There's been times we've had tragedies in our life, deaths, and I call them and they'll be here in a minute. I could call any of them. Brother Damon would be over here in a minute
yeah,
if I needed anything. And that's the brotherhood and the fellowship that you got to have in your life. And it takes us all to keep each other sober every day. I don't go 2 or 3 days. Me and Damon talk 4 or 5 times a week.
yeah,
If it's just saying, hey, checking on you, love you, brother. If you need anything, call me, that type of stuff. And I've never
Yeah.
had that in my life. And
And
I
that's
and
really important. Yeah, when you're like trying to stay in recovery or you need that
yeah,
connection. Everybody needs to connect with someone, but especially when you're going through a situation where you're trying to get over addiction,
yeah,
definitely need people around you to
you
connect
gotta
with.
have. And I think the best part about it was being able to tell the brothers that anything you want to talk about because then they won't tell nobody else because they know they've been in those situations where you tell somebody your life and it gets used against you.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
You gotta be really careful who you share stuff with. We had talked about this, earlier in the week about people using not everybody's happy that you're clean and sober. Trust me,
yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
not everybody's happy, and they'll try to do everything they can to bring you back down and control.
Yeah.
They can control you.
Yeah. So I know that earlier in the week when we spoke, you kind of shared some of that experience where you've had um, people actually try to sabotage your sobriety. or maybe threatened by your inner strength to stay sober. So, could you talk just about your experience of dealing with individuals like that?
Yeah, me and Brother Damon went through it together, and I went through it, and then he went through it. We're not going to mention any names, Brother Damon, but
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about
Yeah.
at the church.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yes,
My
sir.
own boss. You struggled a lot with that as well,
Yeah.
and they're not always happy, and they it got to the point where they even tried to fire some.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And they did fire some. Some of them that wasn't even in addiction got fired over stuff that wasn't. But we knew where we came from, and we were going to classes, and it it wasn't a coincidence. There's no coincidences anymore. Everything's for a reason. And what we would be studying on Saturday in our recovery class is what we was going to apply next week. We didn't know that,
Hmm.
but that's how it turned out. When you're studying about, because people's going to be people, and you got to learn how to deal with people,
Yeah.
especially in recovery, because people can be a trigger,
Yeah. People
and
can be a trigger.
people can be a trigger, and you're not always going to. And don't get me wrong, you're not always. It's not always going to be a roses kind of day. You're going to have bad days when you go into work, and then you got somebody stalking you or complaining behind your back or running to the boss telling you stuff. And we went through all that. We sat in human resource meetings. I don't know how many I was in. Had so many I've lost
Yeah.
count.
Yeah.
And that was something. What that done was what the classes taught us was you have to have this strength, like you said, inner strength to be able to block out what somebody's bringing against you. It ain't nothing but the devil. See, we were taught that to expect this. We were taught that this is going to, if you live long enough, this is going to happen. If you stay sober long enough, somebody's going to catch you off guard. And I wasn't always there. I have a bad habit of saying stuff before I should speak, and
A lot of us do.
and it would get me in trouble. But it never caused any of us to stumble.
Yeah.
I probably should think a little bit. I'm learning as I go,
Yeah, man.
but none of us ever fell over it. None of us ever went back to drinking over it. But we'll be able to make it through easier the next time. Now you can see when people are coming against you. You know it now. You can see the sign.
But yeah, but I want to say that like your story and the stuff that you went through, and like you say you was older, you was in your 40s, and at that time when you that old, a lot of people give up on you. You know, you in your 40s, and they just like, man, he ain't gonna change. I'm just gonna throw him away. And how you came to that point where you thought everything was over and you changed your life. You know, and to the point where I seen you stand in a little rotten apartment, and I seen how you started developing because I was watching you because I was behind you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I was seeing you grow, and I was seeing that all the positive things and how you was dealing with people and how you just kept going. Because I seen you was stumbling and you weren't working the way you wanted to be. You was going through something at a job, and it was getting hard for you. You know, and you went from one apartment to a nice apartment, you know what I'm saying? And then God brought you your wife just out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and I was sitting there looking at you, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, Brother Rich, and then all of a sudden, now you the supervisor at the First Presbyterian Church. You running the whole maintenance department, you know what I'm saying? Before that, you was drunk in the streets. Now you work over $300,000 equipment systems, and all this $1 million stuff, and you was just once out there in them streets, man. And I'd be like, look at all the stuff that you over, and you was just in the streets. That's why I be telling people. Some you might see that person, they might be messed up then, but you don't know what God gonna do or what's gonna happen to them in their lifetime. And now you hiring people.
Yeah.
You hire Brother George, he helped me get in the door. You hire Brother Fred.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You went from in the county, drunk, sleeping in the house with no lights on,
Yeah.
walking around in the cold,
It's unbelievable.
to a nice, beautiful, man, I forgot about his house. He got a nice, beautiful house, to a wife,
God,
to
God is good.
now you the supervisor over the maintenance department in Presbyterian Church.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Then that's a blessing, bro. You know,
It,
I look at you, man. I'm like, man, you know, this is Brother Richie. You
good.
waited for your wife, which I should have waited, but I couldn't wait.
You
You know,
gotta wait, bro.
you waited, yeah. That's what I'm still working on. But
God, God is so good, man. It's a, even though you're in AA, you got to have a higher power. I believe in anything that works for anybody. You got to have somebody that you can talk to. I don't have to get up today. Don't get me wrong. I love AA to death. I love them all that are trying to make it and doing good. And I can get on my knees right now and pray and I didn't even know what it was how it was gonna turn out. I just had to be along beside somebody that had experienced it.
yeah,
That's what happened. Was I just kept serving. I just kept serving. I didn't know what I was doing. I just had to. I know when the church was open, we had to be there, and I just kept serving the Lord. And after I graduated, and Brother Green asked me what you wanted to do, he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I've been working down here at the church for 2 years." I said, "I want to work for the church." So he said, "Well, go up to the Urbana Library and get online and see if there's any openings." And so I went up to the church or up to the library, and there was an opening at the First Presbyterian Church for 6 hours a week on nights.
yeah,
And so I called him and I said, "Yeah, they've got an opening for 6 nights, 6 hours." He said, "You catch the bus and go down there and tell him I sent you." He said, "Tell Mike I sent you." I didn't have no idea who Mike even was.
yeah,
And so I left the Urbana Library and got on the bus and went to the church. And I walked in down there and told them that I was there to fill out an application. And while I was sitting in there, I was thinking, now, how am I going to find Mike? Who's Mike? And so I was sitting in there talking to Patty, filling out the application, and this guy comes in, and Marcia was sitting in there, and she said, "Hey, Mike, I got some paper for you." And I went, it clicked. This must be Mike I'm looking for. And so I was scared to death. So when I was filling out the application, he turned around and started walking back out by the bathroom. I said, "Hey, Mike," I said, "Brother Green sent me down here." And I didn't know I didn't know what else to say. And he came back in there and he said, "Patty, when he gets that application filled out, call me and I'll come back and get him." And I was like, I was ready to, I thought I was going to have a panic attack.
man,
And he come back over there and got me. And the first thing he asked me was what I'd been in trouble for. And I just had to tell him the truth. And he said, "Well, we're looking to hire somebody 6 days a week. And if you have a problem taking stuff," he said, "this isn't the place because we don't want to lose our stuff. Plus, we don't want you to get in trouble."
yeah.
So he was already looking out for me before he ever even knew who I was.
That's what I'm saying. How stuff happened, and you placed in a place like that, you know.
Yeah. And so I started out temporary part time, 6 hours a week. I was working 2 nights a week, 3 hours a night. And then it got to be Can you pick up Thursday? Can you pick up Friday? It got to be about 12 hours a week.
Yeah.
And then they got to where they wanted to open this ministry up for the Congolese ministry. He
Yeah.
said, "Well, can you pick up Saturday night?" I picked them all up.
Yeah, that was a blessing working with the Congolese too.
Yeah. And so when they added that, I was up to about 15 hours a week, and I had more work. I had more than I'd ever had in my life working 15 hours a week and not drinking. I had an apartment, I had TV, I had computer, I had more than I'd ever had in my life that I was able to, furnish an apartment just with 15 hours a week. So I knew anything else if I went to 20 hours, 25, it was just going to be extra. So then Mike ended up getting hurt. I worked nights for 2.5 years. And then Mike got hurt, and Chris, the daytime janitor, he moved up to take Mike's place. Well, then he needed a helper, so he moved me. They moved me to days, and then we hired somebody else for the evenings.
Mhm.
And so then that's how it all. Then I got to be 40 hours.
Yeah.
Then I got to be 40 hours a week, vacation time, uh, insurance, and everything comes along with that.
Wow, well, you definitely have worked your way up, and truly,
Amazing.
yeah, it really is, and definitely you didn't give up hope at all. And
No,
when you're dealing with everything that you've dealt with, I mean, it's easy for people to get hopeless. And when people get into a sense of hopelessness, it's hard to kind of come back from that. I'm going to read the disclaimer one more time and then you can finish your story.
okay.
This is Conscious Community Connections, where we keep the community connected. Views expressed here are those of the speakers and not representing WRFU, UC, IMC, or any socialist forum. All right, go ahead and keep on talking. I'm going to take a break real quick.
One thing I had to learn was, I could always get a position. I just could never keep it
Yeah.
because the goodness would overwhelm you. And then what are you going to do when you get a raise or when you get a promotion? You're going to go party.
Yeah.
You know how that is, just like whenever you got on at the university.
Yeah.
You could have easily just went out and said, "Hey, let's celebrate." And you might do that one time, two times, three times, a couple months. You might get by with it for a while, but then eventually you're gonna miss a day work. You're gonna earn everybody's trust at work, and then you're gonna lose it all again. I had done that over and over my whole life. My whole life consisted of getting it, getting it, losing it, starting over, getting it, and it was just a cycle.
Yeah.
This is the longest I've ever had a job in my life. I'll be there 11 years.
Dang.
11 years sober in April and 11 years at the job in June. That's a long time at the church.
Well, how long you been sober? 11 years.
11 years. April 2nd will be 11 years.
Wow.
That's a long time.
That's a
I
long
can remember like we just walked in the safe house, but it's not just my story.
Yeah.
It's all glory to God, and
Yeah, of course. Yes, that's all about
and
it.
if I can do it, anybody can. It just
Yeah.
you know that.
Yeah.
I
That's
want
what,
to help anybody that wants help. We'll do whatever we can to get them the help they need.
yeah.
Everybody needs different type of help. Everybody's not the same.
Yeah, and there are people, and that's why I say support is a very important thing to people support,
And I seen you do it. I don't know how many times. Whenever somebody would come from Danville, you'd be over there like their brother. Taking care of them, getting them, running them to Walmart. That's what you got to do. It just they wasn't ready.
Yeah, they wasn't ready. Yeah.
They wasn't ready, but the ones that are will be grateful to you forever for doing that. So don't ever give up and on trying. You've spent the last 10 years of your life helping others as well. That's huge.
Yeah.
You would still do it today.
Yeah.
You know, we got to get Ponce through this. You know.
Yes, sir. Yeah. We gonna he really gonna need our support. And and I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that
See,
for him.
that's why I'm glad he's over here. Don't get me wrong. I'm just grateful that they let him.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, that's one thing somebody told me when I was out at the Prairie Center was that's what Canaan was known for in this community is their grace. Because Prairie Center ain't gonna let you come 20 times.
No, they not.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be using those names or not, but any treatment center ain't gonna let you unless you got money.
Yeah, unless you got money.
Unless you got money. That's why people don't a lot of people don't get sober because it's expensive.
Yeah, because when I had got to that point where I wanted to get myself together, we called 13 places.
Yeah.
And all of them was most of them was insurance, or
How
they
much insurance you got?
had no money, or the beds was full, and all the places that I could go to
Yeah.
had beds. You had to have money, you had to have insurance, and I was like, man, I don't got nothing. And at that time, my family was like, "Man, we ain't finna help you." And then 2 weeks later, you leave. Nah, I work hard for my money.
I know that's right. That's what my mom and dad said. The first time I called my mom and I told them I was in the safe house, you know what my dad said?
What?
How much is this going to cost me?
Dang.
Yeah. So whenever he came up here and it was free, oh, he wasn't even getting out the car. He knew better than that. They don't get nothing free. But the thing is about treatment centers and insurance is your mind will tell you. My mind told me that if I can pay them $300 or $400 a week for some sober, I can live somewhere. I can have my own place.
Yeah, man. They just like they just stopped all the funding for the program. 30 days ain't gonna help nobody at all. And
Yeah,
that's
I didn't have see you at home and all these all these people. When I was on the street for 2.5 years, I didn't have nothing but the time center, and that was just to get a sack lunch.
wow.
But that was, I had to work. I was cleaning taverns. I would go early in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning, help clean up bars all morning just to have money to drink on. Yeah, they wouldn't give me no money. They'd just let me drink draft beer all day.
Ah,
Yeah, that's how bad it got.
that's how people they treat you. Like when they see that you on the ground,
Yeah,
they treat you like you on the ground.
yeah, they wouldn't give me no money, but they'd give me credit, daily credit. I had daily credit at 3 different taverns just so I could, stay in my addiction. I was living out on the street for 2.5 years and staying in the park. We would stay up all night and sleep during the day. You couldn't sleep out here at night. Somebody get you. It
Right.
was dangerous.
And you know what? It's crazy because there's a lot of people sleeping outside at night.
Yeah,
There's people outside right now as we speak.
I know there are, and they're
Yeah.
people stay up all night.
And the
But
women have more problems getting in the shelters than the men. It's really nowhere actually for the woman to go to. And that's sad that the Phoenix House, man, that's for men. That's not for women.
right, but the time your mind, you're in a defense mode. Your mind is a survival. Living out on the street, you're going to do whatever it takes to be able to survive, and it's not a good place to be because the first person that comes up and says, "Hey, we're having a party up here, or we got a room over here," you're getting ready to go because your mind is telling you that you've got to do anything you can to make it one. You live on a day-to-day basis. It's dangerous out there. It's dangerous.
I'm telling you, I am one day gonna open a recovery house. I
I
am.
hope you do. I'm in with you. Let me
Women,
know
yeah, women and men. I'm gonna do it.
because,
Lord, let me live. I'm gonna
like I
open
say,
a house for
addiction
men.
and recovery doesn't have a time frame. You could get sick of it in the middle. That you could have a situation at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning where something happened and you decide that you need to change your life right now.
And I know,
That's
yeah, and I
that's
know
when
some people don't
somebody
think it's worth it. Some
that's when somebody needs to be available.
Yeah, and I know some people be looking at them, oh man, that's them, and they need to get themselves together and all that. And, you can't keep helping them, and you can't lead a horse to water. But sometimes, man, some people just need help.
Yeah, they do.
Some people just need help. That's why I tell people, if you're gonna be a negative helper, please stay away from me. Please, if you're gonna help, if you're gonna
Yeah,
give, if you negative, stay away from me because I don't need that. I don't need that around me. 'Cause I'm
I
trying
know.
to help
I
them.
don't. Yeah, you can choose today, and that's a blessing. That's part of being free.
Yeah,
What happens is when you get free, you want to stay free, and you're not going to let that in. You're gonna push back against anything that comes up against that freedom because it just takes up space in your mind.
and it's a thing because people don't realize I feel so strongly about it because I've been in situations and I know people can come out of it. And that's why I see them. I'll be like, man, I'll be wanting so hard for them to come out of it. I'll be like, bro, you can come out of it, man. Sis, you can come out of it. Sometimes they get to the point where they just think they can't come out of it. And I'm like, I'm standing in your face and telling you that you can do it.
You can come out of it.
You come out of it. But sometimes it's not going to be easy.
Oh no, it's not easy.
But sometimes you do got to hold people's hand and you do got to hold their hand and walk them. You know what I'm saying? Just like
Yes, I
a baby.
agree.
You ain't going to get your baby, and even if she can take some steps, you still got to watch them. You still got to hold their hand until they
That's
get
right.
stronger, until they're able to learn how to walk. And when they able to learn how to walk, they still got to learn how to make moves to go this way. So, it's, 'cause somebody held my hand,
Mine too.
you
Thank
know.
God they did.
So I'm willing to hear somebody else. And that's why I appreciate you. Because when I was going through my match with the job, and at one time I only had one job working at the church, and it was part time. I
Yeah,
was unemployment. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, what's going on? And then
you was
all,
making it.
yeah, I was making it. Like you say, I
You
never
was making
stopped nothing. I always had all my bills paid.
it. Yeah.
And one day, you know what I'm saying, I got the call and it was like, man, you want this job? And I've been blessed. I was like, that's why I tell people, man, you can make it, man. You don't got to be out there.
Nope.
And I
Got a
tell
nice
people,
place.
don't give up on your brother. Don't give up on your sister.
That's right.
Don't give up on them. I know it hurt for you to see them like that. I know it do, but don't give up on them. At least continue to pray for them. At least give
Amen.
them some prayers. Before you close your eyes, pray for my brother. Pray
I
for
know
your,
that's right.
because some prayers go a long way. They say, what they say? Did God, you got all them prayers from your big mama, grandma was praying for you all them years. Cause I sure wasn't praying for myself.
I am. Oh, I
Every
am.
time I prayed, when I thought I was gonna get killed or go to jail, I was like, God, please don't let me die. God, don't let me go to jail, please. They call foxhole prayers.
Yes, that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, and the biggest part about it is like you're saying, it's the accountability.
Yeah.
The accountability in just yourself. You know that by you helping somewhere else, that keeps you accountable.
Yeah, and then that person see help, and then they'll come out of it, and then they'll go help somebody else too. So it's like a chain reaction.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Just like somebody helped me, like, look, Damon, man, it's time to get on your feet. It's time to do this. Man, get yourself together. I'm gonna show you the blueprint of it. I'll be like, what is it? All right.
Yeah.
So now I got the blueprint. I go to the next brother or sister. Look, man, I'm gonna show you how to do this. You know, everything. Everybody used to say everything different, but it can happen. That's why I wanted to talk about drug addictions and stuff. That I want people to realize that it's hard out there, and even though that you feel that they can do better, but sometimes that drugs just be so strong and controlling them, man. They just messed up. And I'm here to tell you that you be messed up. When you see people out there, you see somebody.
Yeah.
I've seen people that's strong that been broke all the way down just
Oh
because
yes.
of substance abuse. So that's
Yep.
what I just be trying to let people know by watching this show. If they got a sister, they got a brother, they got a child on it. Don't give up on them. Continue
Amen.
to love them. Continue to support them because you never know. It might be one day that they'll come out of it.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
They
saying?
will.
And then 10 years later, they might do something to help you. You might need them. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
true.
'Cause it can be a chain reaction. If you never help that person, he might not be there to help you 5 years from now. I help people that would laughed at me when I was in my addiction. After I got through playing football and all this stuff and everything was over with, they were like, dang, look at Damon. And they was happy. And then later
Mm.
on, they had their mama calling me, Damon, could you please help us? Damon, could you? And they running for me because they didn't want me to help them because they was, the stuff they was going through laughing at me when I failed. But I never looked at that like that because it's not
Wow.
about that. About
No,
helping somebody. You know what I'm saying? I'm stronger than them. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna look at you because you laughed at me when I was at my low point. That's how you felt. But
right.
Wow.
I'm still gonna help you. You know what I'm
Amen.
saying?
Wow.
'Cause that's the God in me. And that's how a lot of people mess up. They walk over people. You know what I'm saying? That person that you walk over might be the person that saved your life. You never know.
That's right.
You
You
know,
don't know who you might be.
yeah, you never
Wow.
know, man. So you just got to be grateful. That's why every day I wake up, man, I be grateful. I mean, one time I woke up and I thought I was in jail. A couple
Mm.
times I was out, God said, "Oh man," 'cause I thought it was too real.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you ever have like a long dream, so like you be dreaming for like 6, 7 hours. Man, I had to go outside.
Mm.
I was like, I was too peaceful because I never had peace in my life. It was
Yeah.
always something going on, turmoil, or this and that. I never just had lay down where it could just be peaceful, like we're at peaceful for days and days. I'm like, man, I'm not used to this peacefulness. So I
Yeah.
was
It takes some getting used to learn
like,
even how to live with yourself.
yeah, man, it's like, man, once you come out of it, you be like, yeah, man, this cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah, and you're
oh, I
sitting
can
over here
do
thinking,
it. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? I'm finna get this. I'm gonna get me a car. I'm finna go take care of my kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm finna go help my mama. I'm finna go
Mm.
help my sister. I'm finna go do this. I'm finna go do that. You know what I'm saying? Once you get that spirit, I'm finna do everything I can. And it's a beautiful feeling.
Yes, it is. And then whenever you're sitting there, in early recovery, and you get out and you get your own place, your mind try to trick you into thinking that ain't nobody looking. I can do whatever I want now. Ain't nobody gonna look.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody can see me now.
Like I told you, I won't wish drugs on my worst enemy.
Yeah, and see that's where you gotta have. I don't know if it's mind control or whatever, but you
Yeah.
gotta
Change the way of thinking, man. You gotta change
you
the
gotta
way of
change that
thinking.
way of thinking.
Yeah, man. That's the only thing gonna keep you. The way of thinking.
And the thing is, today, we know we can't just go anywhere. You can't just
Yeah.
be seen any place.
Yeah.
You know, both of us, we both work at the church. You just can't be seen just anywhere.
Yeah.
You're an example today. I don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places I don't go just
But like
because.
my friend, like when I was driving, like, man, take me to the liquor store through the man. I'm not going to no liquor store. They look at me like, what, man? What? I'm like, bro, I ain't
No,
going to no liquor store.
do
And it
that.
just could never dawn on them that Damon ain't going to the liquor store. I said, nah, man, I'm not even going in there. What I
I
need in there
know.
for? I don't even buy no pop or nothing. Ain't nothing in there I need. Everything in there destroyed me. So
Uh,
I don't go where I can be destroyed at. I learned my lesson. So I
see,
don't know nobody else is going in there, but I know what it'll do to Damon.
going in at gas stations is about as bad anymore. What they sell in these gas stations,
Yeah, I remember they first started selling them, boy. They was tearing them
whew,
gas stations out. They was stealing more stuff from them gas stations.
man. Some of them convenience marts. I swear to God, I don't go in there.
Yeah, man. First they
You,
had the liquor stores on the corners. Now they got them in all the gas stations.
I know you can't go in them. That's terrible.
Yeah,
You
man.
used to have to go to a regular business to buy some of that stuff.
Yeah,
Now it's right over the counter at the convenience store.
everywhere.
It
Now,
ain't no wonder these
look,
kids.
all the grocery stores, every grocery store got a liquor department.
How many times you been in a convenience store and somebody in front of you trying to show their ID? Never. They ain't gonna make you show no ID. They gonna sell you the liquor and send you down the road.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna check nobody's ID. I never had to wait in the line for
Nope.
nobody to check no ID. everybody carries their beer and liquor right out the door,
Yeah.
and it's in all of them.
How
And
much
these,
time we got, Alicia?
We have like 20 seconds left.
Yeah.
So,
What's the word, brother Ricky?
yeah.
just, just stay humble and keep helping others, and trust in the Lord and pray, and you can get through it.
Yep.
Call somebody. If anybody is struggling, call somebody. Have a call list. If
Yep.
you can't get a hold of one person, get about 10 numbers, 10 phone numbers, and 10 people that will help you, and call till you get a hold of somebody. Because there's help out there, and there's help. People will help you get whatever you need.
Mm,
That's
We've
really
got
good
a
advice.
we've got a really grateful community, and people up here. That's one of the reasons I stayed up here. Is people up here understand.
Yeah.
If you're struggling, I didn't know it until I got into recovery and took it serious. That people would rather help you get the help you need as
yeah.
bond you out of jail.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, we're over time, and it's
All
really good
right.
advice, and I
Thank you,
really
brother Ricky.
appreciate you
Love you,
coming on the
man.
show. Yeah.
Peace.
peace. God bless you.
God
Thank you.
bless. Yeah. Thank you.
How do we do? Just log off.